Morning, everybody. Welcome to my channel. Hope you're all doing well today. We have pretty relatively mild temperatures and quiet conditions for most of the U.S. this morning, with the exception of the Mid-Atlantic and along the lee side of the lakes, and with some snow going on this morning. Temperatures in the 20s and 30s there, and the upper Midwest, single digits to teens here. Other than that, some rainfall, light rain here, but overall, look at down here in Texas in the 60s, but 30s, 40s. The upper Midwest into the Northeast is not the Northeast, northern Tier is the coolest here, but not nearly as cold as it has been. And welcome to my channel, guys. I'm glad that you are watching this and that I hope you get something out of it today. Like my video if you like it, subscribe, share with your friends. And, we're going to talk about the short range and what's going to happen this weekend, potentially severe weather, excessive rainfall, and maybe a little bit of snow for the Mid-Atlantic Northeast, although that's less certain at this point. Out west, we know in the next couple of weeks, in the long term, we're going to have heavy rain and snow. Um, so, but exactly where that's going to happen is still uncertain, but pretty certain of broad scope impacts at this point. So we'll talk about that today and talk about region by region outlook for the snowfall and rainfall amounts. So let's get started with current hazards. As far as current hazards, not a lot going on today. You got some special weather statements here for dense fog and along the in the Florida here. Special weather statement for fire hazards in parts of Georgia here, and special weather statement for snow showers in this area in parts of Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and looks like winter weather advisory along the east side of Lake Erie here, right? Lake Ontario. I don't know why I get that wrong. Anyway, and lake effect snow warning in the Syracuse area, which expires in 8 hours. And then out west here, we got some winter weather advisories and winter storm warning in the higher terrain, dense fog advisory, but not a lot going on. Maybe some dense fog dense fog advisories along the Gulf Coast as well here and up into North Dakota as well. Well, warm temperatures will continue for most of Georgia here. Generally, it's in the 60s through Monday, with lows in the 30s to 50s as we get towards the end of the weekend. They rapidly warm up either way, even if it's in the 30s overnight. Rain returns this weekend with the highest amounts in the southwestern part of the state, but generally, rainfall forecast Saturday through Sunday is indicating upwards of 1.5 to 2 inches of rain, which is very beneficial for our area. Um, so, probability precipitation, the highest, the rainfall is expected to be the most intense or highest probabilities of it happening, right? Generally on Sunday into Monday morning, Saturday night into Monday morning. So overall percentage of precipitations is near 100%. So I think there's between 80 and 100%. It's a pretty good bet that we're going to get at least some rainfall here. But in the southwest part of the state is going to be the heaviest. And again, forecast high temperatures today in the upper 50s to mid upper 60s in far southern Georgia. So as far as 15-day temperature outlook for middle Georgia, we have generally above normal temps for highs through the period expected here, 60s to 70s. Overnight lows could be below normal overnight, depending on the clear skies, right, and moisture. But over the weekend, of course, into Sunday, especially because of cloud cover, the lows will be above normal. And then we have lows generally it's in the 40s and 50s throughout the rest of the period. So quite nice, nice spring, beginning to spring, I guess, here in the southeast. My daffodils are blooming now. And so we know spring is on the way here. So when we look at day 3 to 7 U.S. hazards, we have the possibility, and we talked about this, um, of heavy rainfall here in parts of Arkansas, Tennessee, Oklahoma, and parts of southwestern Georgia, and the Panhandle of Florida, and southwestern Mississippi, right? And this is this weekend into next week, right? Doesn't have the dates here. Let's see. Yeah, 14th through the 18th, right? So possibility of heavy snow here in the Sierra Nevada, and some flooding, heavy rain here in parts of Southern California, small area just to the northwest of the north of the Los Angeles area, Santa Barbara, in those areas. So, the biggest threat really is excessive rainfall in the short term. Okay, so, and we also have severe weather, but excessive rainfall we haven't talked about a lot here. Heavy rainfall is possible here in parts of Oklahoma, central Oklahoma, southwestern Missouri, parts of southeastern Kansas, into parts of south central Texas, or northwest Texas, I guess you would say. And here's the total precip amounts. I'm not sure. Sometimes this doesn't make sense. This makes more sense for what we're talking about here. So, right, because day 2 is back here. I don't know. I don't know why it does this, but highest precip amounts generally from Lawton, Oklahoma. Guess what? That's my middle name, and that's believe it or not, that is named after one of my ancestors, Henry Ware Lawton, who was a general in the United States Army who fought in the Philippines, and the only one-star general to be killed in action. All right, so pretty cool. Anyway, Midland, Texas here, up into Oklahoma and parts of southeastern Kansas, and generally an eight to 1 inch here, which isn't a lot, right? So we go to the daily. Let's see here. Day 2. I don't know. This doesn't make no sense, but day 1 through 3. Here we go. First 3 days, heaviest precip amounts here in parts of Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and then we go days 1 through 5. You see the highest amounts expected here. This is totals, right? So you see the higher amounts down here as well into the southwestern Georgia and surrounding areas, right? So that's why when we move on to the excessive rainfall outlook for day 3, we have this bullseye here for slight risk, and we look at the QPF for it. You see why, right? It's really weird how this is off, like, doesn't make any sense. But anyway, that's why that's there, right? You go a little bit further out, excessive rainfall for day 4. Generally in the southeast here, from all the way from the Florida Panhandle through most of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina here. All right, so what covers a wide area here. Then after that, you go further out, we have increasing risk along the west coast of flooding here next week. So as far as severe weather, nothing expected today, although the general thunderstorm risk exists out here in Utah, Nevada area, parts of Arizona and Wyoming. Tomorrow we have a risk of hail here in parts of southwestern Texas, south central Texas, and in the parts of the extreme southwestern Oklahoma here. And it's, like I said, driven mostly by hail. 5% hail risk here, and maybe some gusty winds with this. Then we go into day 3. We have a broad risk of marginal risk here with a larger general thunderstorm risk surrounding it. So this is driven mostly by winds, maybe some tornadoes, but marginal risk of high winds right now, at least based on what the Storm Prediction Center says. So we'll keep an eye on this and see if it trends up or what happens with it. This is for Saturday, so it's a Saturday evening. So let's look at the Euro model here. European model, this initialized today on the 12th, right? We'll start this off around Saturday. as a Friday night and a Saturday morning. The system is developing here in just to the east of the Rockies, right? Sorry for my sniffling, guys. My feel like I'm coming down with a cold or something, but sorry about that. Um, Not a very strong low, but at least modestly strengthening here. Moving through the deep south here with severe weather, heavy rain, and we'll talk about how much rainfall is expected here. And you have this clipper type system moving through northern Maine as well. System moving on to the east coast here. I mean the west coast of the U.S. Excuse me, get the coast confused. And again, the Euro is kind of going back north again with this partial phasing here. Low pressure redevelops offshore. Uh, as the energy transfers, at least some of it, you have a potential for a swath of some snow here again with the Euro. Every night for the past few nights here, it has moved back towards a solution. So I'm anxious to see if it keeps moving this way or it goes back to not having the solution. This so far, this one and the Canadian have been insistent on and off of having this area of snowfall here. We'll go over the Canadian as well. All right, and that moves out, right? And then you have low pressure developing further to the south here. And there's other solutions where the development of low pressure was further to the north. This trough here was a little deeper, and it would phase more. Energy would phase, and you get a more intense system. But as of right now, that's not the case. So let's look at rainfall real quick. At least with the Euro, the highest precip amounts through the period here. This is total precip. Are in the central U.S., south central parts of New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, and into North Carolina, and right offshore here. And there's a sharp cutoff here to the northeast. Of course, on the west coast, we have the onshore moisture, right? And, as we get through time further out, we see where the heaviest amounts are out west. So we initially have this flooding potential in this area, and then we transition back to the west coast. And then further on out, we have some more to talk about. But let's stop here about 7 days out and look at snowfall real quick. So at least on the Euro here, it's not showing a lot of heavy snow here in the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, right? The highest amounts are out west here through the 19th. So we'll go over the EPS, the European Ensemble, and see what kind of amounts it shows as well for snowfall. This is 10 to 1, so chances are it would be even less than this with how um, close to freezing it would be here if this did happen. So out west here, the heaviest snow amounts, 20, 30, maybe 40 inches of snow here through the period, through the 19th. So here's the latest GFS run starting generally on the 14th. Low develops on east of the Rockies. Surface low moves to the east. Potential severe weather here. And then this also wants to transfer some energy out along the coast here, but is weaker, right? And doesn't bring any cold air in, and just a rainmaker, really. So, and moves out, right? But and we'll go over the rainfall amounts here. And out west, of course, we got the system crashing in out west here. Heavy snow in the mountain west, all on the west coast. Heavy rain and snow up in the northwest U.S. as well. And we have some overrunning precip, at least according to GFS here, into parts of northern New England, the northern tier of the U.S., right? And then we have another system potentially moving through this area, the Midwest, the 19th and 20th. We go a little bit further out. It's showing another system cutting through there. with a trough digging to the west here. But it's pretty far out, so really kind of uncertain at that point. But yeah. So a little still, models are converging a little bit more on a solution here. I think what's pretty certain is potential for severe weather and heavy rain the next several days, 3 or 4 days. And where this low eventually tracks out here along the coast will dictate precip type, and still some uncertainty involved with that. When we look at the total precip amounts from west to east here, we start out west through the 13th, 14th, 15th. You see where this low develops to the east here of the Rockies, and you have onshore precip um, moving in on the west coast, right? And we go through 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th. See the highest amounts in this Sierra Nevada and along the coast, west coast here, and generally east of the Rockies. Go through the 19th and 20th. And probably in the mountains here, this is mostly frozen, but that's still very high precip rates, right? So let's move further to the east to the central U.S. So starting on the 13th, we're in the central U.S. here now with precip amounts. See, the highest amounts are going to be generally in, let's see, parts of Oklahoma, um, Nebraska. I'm not Nebraska, sorry. Kansas, Arkansas, Missouri, 2 to 3 inches here. I'm looking at a map next to me because I had trouble with some of these states, guys. Sorry, but I'm just trying to make sure I have it right here. So generally 2 to 3 inches through this period, right? With some other spotty amounts approaching that. But somebody made the point that we could have some ice jams, and with the melting, and on the Mississippi River, if there are other rivers for that matter, you could have problems with ice jams here, and could lead to flooding because the water backs up, there's nowhere to go, and then the ice comes on shore, different things like that, and all kind of problems. So yeah, so let's go through a little bit more here through the 20th, right? And it shows another system maybe moving through the northern tier, the Midwest here as well. So in the central U.S., generally the snowfall is going to be through the 23rd, being relegated to the northern tier of the U.S. In the short term, mostly the Intermountain West, right? And we get through the 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st, 22nd, 23rd, farther to the north here, possibility of higher amounts. So, but far, south of the middle part of the country, not expecting much snow, except maybe a little bit in the higher terrain of the desert southwest here, um, in parts of New Mexico and Arizona. As far as the eastern U.S., what do we got going on here? Well, the total precip in inches here is starting off on the 13th. You see this system that we've been talking about moves to the east-northeast here. And the heaviest precip amounts, at least according to the National Blend of Models here, um, northwest Georgia, parts of Alabama, central Alabama, and down in the Panhandle, Florida here, and just offshore with the low pressure developing with a tight gradient here to the north. So, and then you get further out in time, you have a northern stream system moving a lot further north and heavier precip amounts there. So looking at the National Blend of Models for snowfall accumulation in the east, not a lot going on in the short term, maybe some along the Great Lakes and some lake effect snow here. And the potential does exist for a little bit of snow here, at least according to the National Blend of Models here, a couple inches, right? In parts of central Pennsylvania, the northern part of New Jersey, parts of New York, and along the lake effect favored areas. Then you move through the period, you see more energy is focused further to the north with snowfall. High snowfall totals up into Canada. So cold air and parts of the northeast and northern New England here gets in on it a little bit more as well. Here's the icing probabilities. Not a lot of probabilities in the short term. Then you get towards a little further out, and not probabilities, but you can see the possibility does exist for some icing towards the end of the period in the eastern U.S. as well. As far as day 8 to 14 U.S. hazards, we're expecting the risk of slight risk of heavy precip here along the west coast during the period, which we've talked about, right? And then when we look at snowfall, here's the moderate risk of heavy snow here in the Sierra Nevada and parts of the Cascades, and a little higher terrain just to the east, the west of Eureka here, right? Some higher elevation snow, and slight risk of heavy snow here, all the way up in the Cascades, up in the Washington State. The higher terrain of the Intermountain West here, the Rockies, and the northern U.S. during this period. Midwest, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. So not too much going on here. No hazardous temperatures or heat expected here, but overall more impactful out west. And so this is 8 to 14 day hazards for risk of high winds here, the 19th through the 21st. Slight risk of high winds along the west coast, the 19th through the 25th, with a moderate risk in the south central U.S. to the central U.S., a slight risk surrounding it, the 19th through the 22nd, and the 20th through the 25th here in parts of the Aleutian Islands, southwest Alaska. So as far as the 6 to 10 day and 8 to 14 day and week 3 to 4 temperature precip outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, for days 6 through 10, we're expecting above normal temperatures generally east of the Rockies, with below normal temperatures out west. And when it comes to precipitation, you can see where the highest probabilities of above normal precip are in the southwestern United States here, California, Arizona, Nevada, and the further south here, generally from in this deep south, Texas, Mississippi, South Carolina, North Carolina, looking like we're going to have below average precip during this period. Moving on, day 8 to 14 for temperatures here. It's just a little further eastward with above normal temps still forecast east of the Rockies, west of the Rockies, and then maybe into the northern to the U.S. Still below normal temperatures expected here. Precip. The focus of the heaviest precip moves to the northwest, Washington State, Oregon, overall the northern to the U.S. and parts of the interior and Midwest, parts of the southeast, and then in the between here, excuse my sniffling here, we have near normal precip chances in the small areas here in Florida along the southeast coast and the desert southwest, below normal precip chances. Moving on to week 3 to 4. So you see we have this small sliver of above average temperatures possible. North Dakota, Minnesota, a good part of the nation. Not really certain one way or the other. It could go either way, right? And then the far southern part of the nation, central U.S., desert southwest. Highest probabilities down here in Texas, New Mexico, but overall expecting above normal temperatures here during this period, with highest confidence in the darker reds here. As far as precip goes, so the highest chances of above normal precip in the northwest here, Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley. The rest of the United States not expecting one way or the other at this point. The probabilities are too high or not too high. There's not real certainty, excuse me, for want to go one way or the other here from the Climate Prediction Center, at least right now, this far out. A little more certainty in the far southwestern U.S., Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of California. So this is a little bit down in the weeds here for analysis here, but I wanted to show you this. This is the Tropopause Temperature, right, which is the layer of the atmosphere between the troposphere, which is where we live, and the stratosphere, right? So you can see our system of interest here at the mid-levels. And if you can make it out here, you have a short wave moving through the flow here. right, to the north, okay? And you have the tropospheric polar vortex part of TPV moving through the flow here as well to the north there. All right, so move this a little bit faster. You see the mid-level feature, and it tries to get involved with this short wave, right? And it tries to phase here, but doesn't quite do it. It looks like it gets stretched out, right? Doesn't totally phase with the energy up here. You see the energy right there off the coast. Um, but but yeah, so that's what's been happening here. If you go back a few runs, you see how it phases with it offshore here. And you go further out um, with time, and you get closer, it starts to try to do it again. But still, it's an interesting feature here, right? Kind of a neat tool to look at this. And I'm gonna switch to the GFS and show you what it looks like here. So maybe this is a little better way to look at it. This is a GFS, right? This is a 6Z model. The Tropopause pressure dynamic, right? You can see that TPV up here. You can see the mid-level feature and the flow and this the southern stream, right? And you see a mid-level, like a mid-level shortwave moving through there, right? Um, and you almost get the hint that it might be trying to get involved here, right? A little bit, but it really never does much. Although you see more development of the shortwave right offshore here, and with the it just more of an enhancement there. Okay, is it just kind of wraps up a little bit, right? And if you go to the surface uh, P-type, okay, with the GFS now, it's showing it's just a little strip of snow here, which it hasn't ever shown. So makes me wonder um, if this is a trend or not. But either way, let's switch back to the European real quick. So this is the tropopause pressure, right? See energy here. Some energy up here, energy in the middle part, this off the southeast coast and down here, right? And it just gets stretched out, doesn't totally phase, right? So we go to the surface and we can look at it again, right? Just some potential for snowfall on the northern edge of it. But one thing's pretty certain, heavy rainfall, right? But we may end up getting into some kind of dry slot here and have less rainfall depending on when this the system transfers energy offshore here. So anyway, I appreciate y'all watching today and giving me time to analyze this and explain it to y'all. Hopefully you got something out of this. I hope you'll have a great day and God bless.